the tales they tell, different views we know so well. Freedom's fine print, come on, let's start the show.
Hello, everyone. This is Bradley Wright with Freedom's Fine Print, second episode, and my co-host,
Colby. Hi.
And today we joined with
Nathan.
Okay.
Some guy.
Yeah,
Some guy, yeah.
Some guy we went to school with for years. This episode is gonna be a little lighthearted. It's not gonna be as serious as the first episode, but we can still have some touchy subjects to the end, and we might have a surprise at the end. We don't know.
Maybe.
We might.
Who knows?
You don't.
No way to know. News to me.
So, yeah. So you want to introduce yourself, Nathan?
Tell us about yourself, Nathan. Well, actually, tell the listeners about yourself, because we know a lot.
I grew up with these two. I went to high school with them. Graduated at West Platte with Colby. Brad was obviously a few years younger, but we definitely knew each other from classes. I mean, after high school, went to college for a few years, Northwest Missouri State. Decided I wanted to do something a little different. Joined the Army for 3 years and was stationed in El Paso, Texas. I joined the sniper section of my unit. The majority of the time I was there, I got to do some pretty cool stuff, shoot some cool guns, met some cool people. I went through one deployment where I went to Kuwait, Iraq, Oman, and then did a little micro tour where I did cross training with the Polish Armed Forces in Poland. After that, I got back, tried the college game again, didn't like it, and kind of doing some soul searching ever since that.
Like, for the social segment, the episode's going to be called All Ears.
Tell us why it's called All Ears.
It's called All Ears because all ears were bleeding and someone else's ears were bleeding at the same time.
Whose ears are bleeding?
Trump's ears were bleeding. Trump's ears were bleeding, and our ears were bleeding because the national anthem was botched at the All-Star Game.
Okay, so we're talking about. Okay, let's get the fact right. What's her name?
Yeah,
Ingrid Andress.
Ingrid Andress. What motivated you to start the podcast? What motivated you to choose the category of what this podcast is? Kind of the main topic that you wanted to stay true to. And I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about it. And I'll ask questions.
Yeah, as they come in.
Yeah.
Same with you, Nathan. You have questions too.
I have no questions.
No, yeah. You want to get some. But
no, you haven't said anything.
I know.
All right.
Well,
go ahead.
Like, we don't have a civil conversation.
Are you saying, like, specifically in Weston, or are you generally everywhere?
It's more pronounced in Weston since I deal with it daily, like on the community pages and stuff like that.
Of course.
But it's mostly nationwide. It's like one-sided, one-dimensional. Like everyone like talk to each other behind the screen. You don't talk to each other in person, and it's like all like hate and stuff like that. Like when you talk, if it's like something's positive, it's something like it's just asking for clout.
Okay, so basically,
no one talks to each other anymore. Like listen to each other.
And your goal was to literally get people
united,
sitting in the same spot,
exactly.
and actually having some
conversations. Yes,
where they can't just run away or say something. I mean, it's admirable, man, and it's kind of a platform for people to take a little more of a professional approach, maybe than they would literally just in their basement with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of causes them to think about what they're going to say, just the nature of being on a podcast.
Yes.
But my hope is, as we move forward with this, and I feel like we're already doing much better with this episode, my hope is to create an environment where it's almost like just being in someone's basement, but you still are aware that your face is going to be out there, and your voice is going to be out there.
Why I started the podcast. The reason like I said earlier, I started it is because like to make feel united.
In-person conversations.
It's like pretty much like you said earlier, like talking to your friends around like the basement, like to hang out with friends, but more professional.
Yeah, with a little more structure, I guess.
But not too structured, like in a padded room.
Yeah. All right. Well, how long have you had this idea?
Well, I started after I saw that one post. You know what post I'm talking about?
No.
The one that as you complained about stuff about. The citation. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's after that I saw that. And like people arguing with a 19-year-old, and they're like almost like 40 and 50-year-old arguing with each other on Facebook. Right. Like guys, like we all live in the same community. We united, not divided.
What do you think the motivation is for division in West?
Let's just be honest. I don't think social media is a shining example of civil discourse.
It's not.
People.
No, it's not.
It's
the main source
probably
of
worst place
to look it up. Stuff on social media. Shame.
Yeah, well.
No, I'm just kidding. This is good stuff.
It's more of a closed conversation.
Yeah,
people can just watch.
Exactly. And they can comment on, but
they can come and join.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
sometimes we're just
so
like,
essentially,
hey, dude, you want to be on a podcast? So we'll shoot it at your house.
In a perfect world, if someone in Weston has, an issue that they want to talk about and put out there and have a discussion about,
they should meet the person directly.
Is kind of your vision for them to come to you or to me and be like, hey, let's get on there and do an episode.
Yeah.
You have the microphone in Weston.
Yeah.
It's like it's a Billy on the streets, Brad on the street, but less not as rambunctious or like in your face.
Of course, yeah. These townsfolk are into obnoxious people, and I like that. So we'll keep it that way.
But no, that's the reason I'm doing is like try to make really United States, not the divided states. So I'm trying to make start like a small town, see how it goes and the popularity, conversation. Like Nathan was saying, social media pretty much ruins conversation with people because literally my dad is a prime example. He doesn't call me or text me. He sends me a Facebook message. He doesn't call my father. And he calls me a message dude, you have my number. You can call me. I live right down the street from you. If you need anything.
For God's sake, you could come and visit sometimes.
No, I don't. That's too much.
Drawing lines.
Yeah. But no,
But he could call.
He could call.
Or text.
What about FaceTime?
That's the same thing.
That's what?
No, it's
coming
not.
to visit or
No, messenger stuff. Because this old-fashioned phone call.
Okay.
And we so attached to all social media, we wonder about how much likes we get and stuff like that. But I know I just said earlier about we need 100 unique listeners, but that's like Nathan was saying about social media, it's all about the dopamine hit when people like and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, and to be clear, none of us. It's going to be very difficult for any of us to escape of the likes equal dopamine, the attention equals dopamine, because we've been. I mean, that's just the lives that we've been living. Our generation, that's what makes people tick right now, among other things. But it's a huge part of it. And some people more than others. Some people rely solely on that for their happiness, which is problematic. But other people like it in small doses. And I think it's up to you to decide where you want to be in that. Obviously, if you discover that it's a problem and it's stopping you from doing things to improve your life, then maybe
I'll cut it out.
That's something. But yeah, I don't know that anyone our age or younger is going to be able to fully escape it unless you go homestead somewhere and completely isolate yourself.
Dude, I mean, by no means am I saying I want to do anything crazy, but just being deployed in Kuwait, just being isolated from my friends and my family, and I couldn't see them physically, on the weekends, get drunk, hang out.
Yeah.
But I still had social media there, and I'd have Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and I'd see it every day, all of the fun shit they're doing. And I'm laying here in a tent, 115-degree heat, with 50 other dudes. There's zero privacy, and I literally don't have a single day off for 9 months. It just got overwhelming, and I realized super depressing. It's just bringing me down. I'm watching all my friends back home have normal lives and enjoy themselves. So I made the executive decision, I'm getting rid of all my social media because it's devastating. And I did, and I have not got it back since. I was in 2018, and it has made a world of difference. Yeah.
Better for it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think everybody would benefit from getting rid of. I mean, maybe not all of it. You got distant family members. That's sometimes your own contact, family pictures and stuff. But outside of that, when it starts to go to another level, you're interacting in negative ways with other people and really putting them down or sharing, crappy views or something. It's just when people get animalistic, I guess that's when it gets to be too much.
So basically, you haven't had the idea for very long.
No,
it was a very long-winded way.
No, and also, very long. And also, I seen I wouldn't want to do something, but that was the final spark, ignited the whole fire.
And I think it's a huge part of that has to be the fact that you have a job that involves a lot of interactions with people. Mm-hmm. So you're on a daily basis just interacting with people. So you get to kind of be plugged in almost all the time, it seems, as to what's going on in the town. So when something, but yeah, you're plugged in. You're talking to people and you're aware. Man, that doesn't mean. So we covered your motivation behind it. Let's move on to a burning topic in the country that everyone that has a podcast has talked about almost: the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to say,
probably one of the worst renditions of the national anthem that's ever been done in a sporting event.
Honestly, that could be true. Because even when even when they forget the lyrics or mix up the lyrics,
they still can be on key.
they're on key, and oftentimes the stadium will like pick it up and help them out, and that's always like uplifting.
Yeah.
But in this case, just when it would zoom in on the players and them trying to keep a straight face,
to not laugh,
which would be difficult too,
Mhm.
because like you're thinking about hitting home runs in a home run derby, having a good time with like a lot of your peers in the league, good
thinking
publicity.
you're going to get fired up by the national anthem.
So yeah, the Ingrid thing. I assume that there's some people that take it personally because they're like, that's the anthem and that's a meaningful song, and I don't disagree with that. But I think in that instance, like the reason they're singing it is tradition for sports games. People being proud of their country, and she just happened to be in a really bad frame of mind. Yeah, state of mind. She has her own struggles, and she botched it. And that sucks, but life moves on, and I'm sure next week there's going to be something else that's worth talking about, or we'll still be talking circles about Trump getting his ear shot. So
It's definitely not going to stop.
It's not going to stop.
I have such a hard time knowing what to believe on that one, and in general about just about everything.
Yeah, I have opinions on it, but
yeah, the conspiracy theorist in me almost wants to say that Ingrid's performance was rigged just to pull the public attention away.
That's what I was
something
thinking. I
else.
thought the same thing actually.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's a stretch. There are better ways to do that.
She would have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just
The whole situation's kind of wonky.
It's just
It
A lot
sounds
of
like
things that aren't adding up there.
sounds like the episode of Twilight Zone.
sort of.
It's just weird, like how also like parallels, like if you saw the video of like the people trying to laugh, it's hard. Like it was hard. It's like national anthem, like respect and stuff like that. But then you see people laughing, so it's like shows.
Oh, for sure.
Shows like society too. Like we like the laughing stock. Well, it's like parallels.
I mean, yeah, if you're an outside
Yeah,
country and
yeah.
you see that performance and you see the laughing,
So-
it's
so it's like-
definitely up to interpretation. Especially like the news in foreign countries may spin it ever so slightly to where it sounds worse than it is. It sounds worse than the objective thing that happened, which was just a young woman botched the national anthem, and now she's taking care of herself. But it can
At
obviously.
least she owned up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of other people who probably try and pass.
Right.
They just definitely diverted over.
My vocal cords were hurting,
it's just
something.
That's
not even
criminal.
admit it or try and go and criticize everybody else for laughing.
Well, and she very well could have used something like
Scapegoat.
physical. Man, I just touched my mic.
You're fine.
But she could have been like, okay, something was physically wrong with me, but still took the rehab route, more secretively. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got punched in the throat before I went out there. It sounded horrible. But yeah, hopefully she gets everything taken care of.
Yeah, more power to her.
Again.
It's definitely a big move to go and admit that you have a drinking problem and you were intoxicated whenever you performed the national anthem on national television, global television, I guess, but more watching anywhere else would have.
That's what
That's
happens
crazy.
when you're that vulnerable, though. I almost feel like it's like declaring bankruptcy emotionally. You just take yourself down to the very most raw part, and you're just airing all your laundry. But I don't know. It's admirable.
It's a bad situation with animal her reaction to the issue.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
been a lot worse.
It could have. Well, I think I do. What's that?
I said hopefully it goes well for her.
Yeah.
Wish her the best. Wonder we'll be seeing more of that.
No, well,
Social
yeah,
media
the media
stuff.
is not going to release
It's a
its
juicy story.
clinches for at least a little bit, and again until the next thing, they might circle back, say, "Hey, she's out of rehab, she's doing good." I'm sure she'll still sell records. I almost guarantee it. She already has been selling a lot of records,
She's
so
sold a lot of records. She's very popular.
yeah,
I didn't know who she was actually.
You didn't?
I have to also admit that neither did I. I had
Did Nathan?
I mean, I'll admit, I didn't really know.
Go home. You on Alexa. We have 68 out of 100. If we get 100 within 60 days, we could get monetized and get sponsorships.
You could be making literally tens of dollars.
Yes, tens of pennies. So
We're gonna have to
Yeah,
find somewhere to put all those dollars.
Yeah.
That would be
Subway.
cool. Brad, I have some questions for you. Basically, I've been wanting you to have the opportunity to tell the listeners kind of that everyone has their own opinion about this. And at the end of the day, no one who's here at this table or listening knows the truth. Whether you think you do or not, I'm sorry to tell you, you don't know the truth.
And that's the nature of the podcast. So freedom's fine. It's like we have the freedom to have our own opinion.
Yep. But yeah, we can take it from there. So basically, big time event that happened Hasn't happened in a long time.
Since
the 80s.
With Reagan.
It's a dynamic situation. Still very much underway with the investigation. I'm not sure when we'll get answers. I'm sure we will get answers.
There's some stuff we won't even know either to like get declassified too.
Right. Yeah. There's going to be
most of the investigation going on behind closed doors right now.
Of course.
It's not happening public.
And I think personally, whatever they come up with as to what happened, I'm always going to be a little apprehensive.
That's the worst part is for some people, the answer is going to be great. Like perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to hear.
This is my closure.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then for others, it's like, yeah, that's total shit. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
It's just, the conspiracy theories are never going to stop, regardless of whatever they end up including.
Dude, it's interesting. Like my head spins when I really get into it because the nature of what the media is doing
is like trying to divide us more.
Yeah. And what it's turning all of us into, maybe not all of us, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of us, a lot of people in my circle, it's turning us into, I won't say conspiracy theorists, but like more apt to believe in a conspiracy than what the news is telling us in anything. And then that could be the singer who, botched the national anthem. Like maybe, like I said before, it was just a ruse to get the country's attention on that for a short amount of time while something else big happened. So it's interesting to me that a lot of people jump to the fact that it's fishy, and it is fishy in my opinion.
No matter what way you look at it, I think the reality of just being able to see, like looking at the news and some of the headlines, like CNN thinks something along the lines of Trump rushed off stage after falling at rally. Like anybody who watched the 30-second, whatever it is, 2-minute clip of that was like, it's not what happened.
And some people say
99% of the story there. Like, why would you put that headline out?
Yeah.
And also,
or the other was like MSNBC, like Trump rushed off stage by Secret Service after loud bangs.
I wonder if they put that out early as an attempt to calm the panic until they could verify 100% that he just got shot in the ear with a bullet. And I mean, the verification was made easier too with that gentleman that was killed, the father. Yeah, he was shot in the head. That's pretty straightforward that there were shots fired.
Absolutely.
And obviously once that, leaked, then there's no going back. All those news crews that wanted to maybe gain some traction early,
that's why I say no rush into like the news and stuff like that. Always wait to get the facts straight before you say anything, but it's also about media. It's also about like ratings and stuff like that.
Well, I guess that's what I'm saying too. Is like you said, get your facts straight, and I'm just kind of lost as to where to get the facts from.
What is a fact? What's fact? What is
other
fiction?
Than conjuring your own? It's hard.
Especially with stuff like that.
Especially with the AI too and stuff like that. You can like do fake deep fakes and voice and everything like that.
I mean, definitely it's a thing that you have to be aware of now, but I really don't think that's occurring. At least from what I've seen with this.
I do wish more people would consider that as reality. That just the fact that where they're getting their information from may be untrue, misleading. Yet a lot of people don't accept that, and they'll use social media as their platform to die on that hill, if you will, based on whatever they believe, based on whatever they heard. And it's sad to see that happen, because if you just consider that there are other truths out there and that you may not have the full picture, then maybe you won't make such a fool of yourself online. But people are going to
never going to stop
until we get everyone on this podcast, one person at a time.
It's like every person in the whole United States.
Every resident of Weston, at least. Once we start there, then, we expand.
Yep.
Nathan, you mentioned
you were a sniper.
Yeah, your history as a sniper in the Army. What do you think, and I won't get into specifics unless you want to, but if I can just ask you, based on your experience as a sniper and based on the distance and what you know that the news has given you and what you've seen on the news, is it feasible that at that distance with a moving target, they could have missed on purpose and shot the ear on purpose as some sort of ploy to rise the country behind Trump as he takes a bullet in the ear
that
and
would have been
continues on?
No, I definitely don't think that was the thing. I mean, even you look at how much that bullet missed the side of his head. I mean, you're talking about Well, you have there's just so much that goes into it. And no, I don't think that was it. There was a million better ways if that was their intention of going to try and, get him
make it look like an attempt
to get him some kind of popularity boost. I mean, if that would have gone wrong, I just don't understand why you put your life in jeopardy by that degree. Literally by millimeters, and you would have been dead, and then what does it matter? I mean, you could be a martyr, sure, but you wouldn't be here to see him. And it probably would very much throw the country into some, maybe not a nationwide civil war, but like some level of conflict. Maybe pop up. It'd be bad. It would have been a very bad situation if that would have been completely seen itself through.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, I've kind of looked again just on social media because that's where I get some of my news. I feel like everybody does have to. There's been a lot of people, like you said, that are going and giving their opinions on that, and individuals that have much, much more experience, practical experience than I do in shooting, and they're just blowing holes through most of this. And I think at the end of the day, it would definitely be either summed up to either malicious intent or gross negligence, and just the level of negligence that would have to be in order for that perfect storm of events to happen is kind of mind-blowing. Because I would say limited. I was there for 3 years, which is, there's people that have been in it much longer than I have, made careers out of, sharpshooting and precision shooting. But even with my limited experience, I can look at that and say that there's just so many wild things that just don't add up. They have evidence now that supports that they were aware of the guy for something like 20, 30 minutes prior to him going up on stage, Donald Trump going up on stage. That should have easily been like a security stand down. We're going to stand this entire situation down. We're going to at least postpone his speech until we can figure out what's going on and do a tactical assessment of the situation, make sure that there's not more than one shooter, do their full canvas of the perimeter, make sure the situation's cordoned, you have control of the perimeter. And try and apprehend anybody that looks suspicious.
And they said he'd look suspicious before.
The guy literally went up to security I've seen several people with credible sources on social media posting that he literally went through security with a rangefinder, literally with a laser range. Again, it's not like those are deadly on their own, but
I wonder if someone thought it was like a little.
No, these are trained
monoculars.
Anybody that is going to be in a security setting is going to look at that and probably have at least a basic understanding of what it is.
I'm actually glad you said that because
if you're looking at that, that's the thing too. I want to differentiate between just bystanders and somebody enjoying the rally and people that are working that rally as security. There's a difference in there. One group is trained, the other's not, right? And the other group, who knows? I'm sure that there were plenty of people sitting around having beers, probably kind of inebriated, not in their best state of mind because they're not worried about that stuff. It's not their job. They're there to enjoy it. The other demographic that is, the security detail, not only are they trained, but hopefully sober in a state of mind that's going to allow them to execute their jobs pretty efficiently and effectively. So, they're looking for stuff like that. Literally, you have a list, just a laundry list of stuff that you would be kind of on the lookout for. And I would think a laser rangefinder would come up as a little suspicious. Maybe not enough to just throw the cuffs on somebody on the spot and haul them off, but it'd be like, you're not bringing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not coming in here. It's just wild. Your cordon that they had for the perimeter was just enormously reduced. I think it was only a couple hundred yards away from the stage where Trump was giving his speech. Normally... Which is
abnormal.
Yeah, absolutely. You can attest to some of that because you did your EOD stuff for VIP details.
Right.
It's usually a quarter mile away from whatever the event is.
So I'll get into that. Basically, for the listeners, as an explosive ordnance disposal technician, I had the opportunity to work with the Secret Service quite a bit, especially when I was stationed in New Jersey. So basically, I would go to venues and events where protectees, and when I say protectees, I mean either POTUS, the President of the United States, or VPOTUS, the Vice President of the United States. And sometimes we would work for the Secretary of State, just varying foreign dignitaries. We would work all kinds of jobs, but I did a lot for President Obama and Joe Biden, President Biden. At the time, he was Vice President Biden. So I got to work with the Secret Service a lot in an explosive capacity. I was looking for IEDs, bombs, improvised explosive devices. What's up?
Between that, they said he found devices in his house like make explosives as well.
They were in his car.
In the car, yeah.
Usually, he had a remote detonator. He literally had a remote detonation device on him at the time he was on the roof. And I mean, again, they don't know exactly from what I've seen most recent. They don't know exactly why. I guess what he had planned. I think it was meant to be. They're kind of leaning towards a diversion, right? Like if he would detonate something like that while he was already in place, it would act as a diversion of attention, so he might be able to get a little better shooting.
Nope.
Anyway, but yeah, there's been some wild stuff. This was obviously this was thought out. I mean, I don't know how much planning he put into it. He obviously put a little more effort into it. He didn't just pick up a gun, hop in a car, and drive down there and decide I'm going to shoot the president today. Like there was some planning and there was some preparation that this dude had put in.
There has to be to get past those security checkpoints. And I can also attest, I've worked a lot of checkpoints. We call them mag checkpoints, magnetic checkpoints, where they're waving a metal detector, and you also have to walk through the same type of stuff that you walk through at an airport. And as my job is basically to search bags, search items for potential like explosives. The Secret Service's job in that capacity is just to look for metal or weapons or rangefinders. So I'd be curious to see exactly how that went down. If like they picked it up, because I'm trying to put myself in that position.
But yeah, I guess that's the best thing. So
if I'm going through a backpack and I'm looking for explosives or knives or guns, and I see a rangefinder, I'd like to think that I would be like, why in the hell does this guy have a rangefinder?
But at least cause some questions.
It would. I like to think that I do that. Sure. But I also can absolutely imagine a scenario, because those mag checkpoints get chaotic, because you're talking about thousands of people trying to get
there was something like 15,000 people.
Exactly. And you could be distracted by someone who's causing, a ruckus saying, I'm not going through that mag checkpoint. You can, expletive, whatever. But if you're distracted by that, then maybe the rangefinder just, who cares? It's not a gun, it's not a knife, it's not explosives, so carry on. And there's nothing in the law that says you can't carry around a rangefinder. That's true. That I'm aware of. But it would raise suspicions towards that individual.
Yeah.
But all that kind of falls out the window too if you consider that they were looking at him for 20 to 30 minutes in the first place. So
they were aware.
Right. It's gosh, and it just makes it so much more questionable when you talk about stuff like that.
Well, I guess following that too, like they have admitted that Trump's secret security detail or Secret Service detail has been kind of systematically stripped down, and it was pretty much bare bones when he held that rally that day. He had actually made some requests, like, hey, I need more protection. What's going on with my Secret Service detail? And he was at a bare bone detail that day when they were going to have that rally because, and I don't know where, but it was somewhere nearby. Joe Biden was giving a speech or talking to the public.
Right.
And since she's the acting first lady, she has, precedence over Donald Trump because she's actively in office right now. So they stripped more detail that he even would normally get away from that event so that they could give it to her. And because of that, they were really, really understaffed, and they actually went and requisitioned local SWAT, local, police.
Which isn't uncommon. I just want to let the people know, that happens all the time because, especially during this time of the year when elections are coming up, these people are moving all the time. And so they reach out to law enforcement, but go ahead.
Yeah. There was a much larger portion of the security detail that he had there was made up of local law enforcement than normally would have been because they would have been able to have the Secret Service thing be able to cover those gaps. And I mean, that's another one where people, conspiracy theories are kind of found there.
Oh, yeah.
Why would they do that stuff? You can ask a million questions, and it's at the very least, an interesting coincidence. But, until you get more evidence there's hard evidence. You can't really draw a definitive conclusion as to whether or not that played a part into that happening. It very well may have, created an environment where it was easier for that guy to go and do that. But whether that was malicious or just weird coincidence, again, you can't draw that conclusion until you have more evidence, hard evidence.
There's so many coincidences like that in history.
And that alone is kind of where it gives it, some grounds. How many coincidences have to all happen at once before you just start to really think, okay, this is worth a second look. This is worth a deeper dive. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. If it was just one or two, it's wild, glad it didn't happen. But when there's a million, which they've been pointing out, left and right with this entire situation. You've got to kind of take a step back and think, maybe there's something more to it. At least, Obviously, you don't want to jump into conclusions.
I mean, I also want to emphasize the importance of understanding that when crap hits the fan in any situation, oftentimes a lot of your planning and a lot of what you think you would do goes out the window. And I know a lot of people listening know that. Generally speaking, most adults have gone through some crap hit the fan moments, and it varies just based on what that experience is like. This one would be a real just, I think everyone's heart rate is just red line. And in that state of mind, it's difficult to really predict what anyone's going to do. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there.
In those situations, even given these, their jobs, like as high level security detail, like I don't care how much training you've had, like the second it actually starts and it happens, you're going to have a pause. Like you're going to have a moment where the shock sets in. And obviously that's where the training comes in, where you overcome that and you start thinking rationally, following your training and doing what you need to. But every person's going to have that initial second or two of like shock, like I've got to do my job.
Oh, yeah.
Before it starts kicking in. So, I mean, given that, I think they still acted, pretty quickly. There were some people that were running for quite a ways, like 100 feet at a dead sprint to go and basically tackle Trump onto the ground. So, I mean, hats off to those guys.
And if you dumb that down, if you kind of, put the severity of the situation over here for a second, that would be a fun aspect of that job. Is like, hey, if this ever happens, what? Like, I wonder if they practice that. They have to.
Oh, of course they practice.
With some just
that's your job.
With probably the new guy or the new gal in the Secret Service. And they're just like, hey, you're going to act as the protectee, and we're going to run this drill, and we're all going to dogpile on you and get you out of here as fast as possible. That would be fun. I never have got to see any of that type of stuff in my work on the East Coast and really just everywhere. But I've seen a lot of things. I've seen extraordinary protection from the Secret Service. And by that, I mean just the security, their cordon, everything about it was just tight and perfect. And then I've seen the complete opposite also with the Secret Service. Exactly. And that's how it is across the branches of the military. That's how it is across the jobs in each branch. Everyone has really high performers and everyone has low performers.
Just like
that still meet the standard for the job, but
there's varying degrees of that.
Exactly.
Well, that's any job too.
Yeah, it is. It is
like some people.
It's just the penalty for failure is pretty high. Yeah,
people die.
People die, and someone did die. Right, just one person died.
Only one person died, and the two others were in pretty serious condition.
Dude, I can say I'm glad that it wasn't an explosive attempt for an assassination, and I say that because of the collateral damage, one, that happens with that. There would be a lot more dead people. And two, the fear that incites in the country. Not saying that someone with a rifle is not scary, but you start throwing devices that just randomly explode into the mix. Yeah. And people get, rightfully so, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And then third, I know a lot of EOD people that are still doing the job, and I care about them a lot. So if it was an explosive, that would have
putting their life on the line to make sure that it was.
What that would have meant is either one of these people that I could know, they missed it. There's a chance that you missed stuff, and that would suck because then heads are going to roll eventually for that. Yeah. Or our job to the word is find or function in that situation. So either we find a device and we notify the proper authorities to spin up a bomb squad response for it, and we get everyone evacuated. We find the device, and in an unfortunate situation, it has a timer, or we deem it a device that needs to be addressed right now, and then that's when we go hands-on with our limited tools.
And to be clear, pretty much every one of those situations is going to be a security stand down. Like going on is done.
Everything stops.
Tactical pause.
1,000%.
Yep.
And that goes for almost anything across the country that I can think of right now anyway. With stuff like that, they don't try and hide that stuff because it is
too costly if you're wrong.
It's too costly. Yeah. And I'm just glad that wasn't the case. And I don't know yet if there were people that I know that were working on that day. I'm just kind of waiting. I'm not going to reach out.
Probably a little.
Just see. Yeah, they're tied up in some stuff that they don't want to talk to me right now. I'll tell you that. Maybe they do. But yeah, it's a heck of a deal. What do you think, Brad? What can I ask you? Yeah. When you first heard it, where were you when you first heard that it happened?
Actually, I was at my parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're at your parents, and then what was the first thing that went through your mind as far as like suspicion as like what you believe had just transpired?
It's like oh, excuse my language. Oh shit, that's not good because like the country because like we already at like almost close to the fire. That almost could have sparked the Civil War. Almost.
Well, yeah,
Would have been a bad deal.
yeah. That
It's too we like treading on thin water, thin ice right now. Like one of those sparks and the country could erupt. Another reason I'm doing this talk is like to people that talk stuff out, not like argue and stuff like that.
Well, I wish we would have got that young fella on the podcast before he decided to try and shoot the president or the candidate in the face.
I'm sure there's a lot of people saying that.
Well, if that was able to be done, no offense to our podcast, I hope that they would get him on Rogan or something.
Yeah,
But it's weird about
a little larger audience. Yeah.
But he also was voted for Republican.
Well,
That's weird.
again, this is a bowl of soup that we have no
idea.
anything that's in the soup. We don't know. No. We can see some stuff maybe, but
it could be like soup
you can reach in and pull something out, and you just don't know.
Like the soup we had at school all the time.
What's that?
Like the soup we had at school.
Oh yeah. What was your favorite school lunch?
The pizza. Come on.
Pepperoni or cheese?
It's a pepperoni. Come on now.
Hey, I'm just
Yes. So
I could live off of those.
you can buy them.
I had like 6.
Cristitos were
You can buy them online.
Yeah.
Too expensive, but
6 or 8 Cristitos at lunch and gorging, and then immediately getting out of
gym.
Yeah, well, no, and getting out of school and going to football practice, padding up.
Oh
down
my
the field,
goodness.
100-degree heat, a gut full of Cristitos, greasy Cristino meat.
God.
It came back to haunt me. I was in Delta Junction, Alaska, and I stopped at an IGA convenience store because the guys that I was with insisted that they had delicious little fried foods inside. And I went in there and they had Cristitos. They had chicken ones, they had beef ones, they had buffalo chicken ones. And I must have bought like 30 of them. And from that point forward for the next 3 years, every time I went by that gas station or that convenience place, I bought Mountain Fruits. I was single. I lived in a cabin, a very 600 square foot cabin.
Yeah.
Like it was
not a high point of your life.
No, not at all. But I ate a lot of Cristitos, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And feel bad for that boy. Every time he comes by, he buys about 30 Cristitos.
There's the parallels with Nathan said earlier. There's a lot of parallels to other attempts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's weird how because I think it's human nature as we pick up patterns.
Yeah.
That's why it's like we have noticed there's like a lot of similarities between each thing. Because that's human nature, pick up patterns. And like if something sticks out, then it sticks out.
Did you have any doubts that it was an a real assassination attempt?
I could tell it was real too, but like Nathan said earlier, like CNN said oh Trump fell at the rally, and then NBC said like something else. Like I said earlier, get the fact check before you report. But it's also about views and media.
Yeah, I guess kind of the way it went down for me was I was doing something that day. I don't even remember
Getting
what.
ready to come out here and play disco.
Was that what it was? But yeah, that makes sense. So I was busy that day, and I didn't even check my phone until that night, really, is when we all kind of discussed it for the first time. And my immediate...
intoxicated, perfect environment.
Yeah. It was perfect.
All we have is minute-by-minute coverage from social media.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Reddit.
It was
Twitter,
a perfect platform to discuss the truth, for sure.
And have very little of it at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't know about it until my parents told me.
Yeah. My knee-jerk reaction, just because of my experience with the government and three-letter agencies, was that this has to be fake. Like, everything about it has to be fake. And I'm not completely sure that it still isn't. But one thing that threw me off that thought was when I saw the ballistic layout of how the bullet went by his head at the time that his head was turning.
Photo, too, that actually shows that bullet behind his head.
And so, and like we discussed earlier, that is too close, even at a short distance of 100-some yards for most,
Well, I guess I could literally describe that. Like, so you have different guns has, I guess it's maximum capable accuracy, right? Like nothing's going to be perfectly, you're not going to shoot like a laser. No gun will.
Yeah.
So you have, it's like a cone of fire, is what they call it. And so like, for instance, our 2010, which is a 300 Win Mag. It's called a 1-inch gun. We'd always refer to it as a 1-inch gun because if you put that gun in a vise and pull the trigger to where the gun itself could not move at 100 yards or 100 meters, I guess, because they use meters in the Army. In theory, the tightest that grouping could be on a piece of paper at 100 meters is 1 inch. So And that's, literally just mechanical error in the gun and the bullet. Like there's a million different things that go into making. So that's not even including shooter error.
Mhm.
So
And-
you figure like that bullet missed the side of his skull by less than 1 inch. I wouldn't even trust that. If the gun was in a vise and there was no wind and there was nothing else, it had literally been bore sighted. Are you going to put your life up to fate, I guess? Because that's kind of what it is, just hoping. Now, I'll be like, a lot of times the gun shot more accurately than that, but still, like, it's a roll of the dice. You could have a bad round. The gun
Gust
could
of
be.
wind.
We had cold bore shots. Some of
Yeah.
our cold bore shots before the gun, with cold bore being, we had not put a lot of rounds through the gun and the barrel wasn't heated yet. So that was literally like when you're shooting out far enough, it makes a difference. Cold bore versus, a heated up barrel is going to shoot differently.
Well, and that's why you have to consider that when you're zeroing a rifle, even for hunting, is your cold bore shot might be thrown differently than your hot bore shot or your warm bore. So in case anyone was trying to sight in a rifle for long range shooting, you need to do cold bore shots and then wait about 15 minutes, let your barrel cool down, and then do another cold bore shot to zero in that sense. So if you were curious, it's not really has anything to do with what we're talking about.
I mean, for precision shooting, if you're like assassin, you're getting out, absolutely, yeah. There's a lot to
if you consider that his shot was a cold bore shot.
I think it's safe to say it was. You would have heard other gunshots, unless
but he shot
through the blow dryer.
He shot what?
It's very
3 times? Is that what?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to warm up, and typically, as like you shoot and put more rounds through the gun, and the barrel heats up, it's going to get a little bit more accurate. Versus if it's cold bore, it can act a little bit more erratically, unpredictably with the rounds. So,
did they say what type of weapon it was?
I think they had mentioned that it was a 55 grain bullet is what they had said it was, which, I mean, typically that's like a 5.56. It's an AR-15 in civilian. So, I mean, that's not really a typical sniper round. That's usually like
more like a
close
243 quarters, maybe? A 240?
It's a 55 grain round. It's pretty small. It's a little BB almost. It's bigger than a BB, but I mean, it's not usually something that you would pick as a performance sniper round. It's just too small. I mean, you know what it's like to shoot a 5.56 at like deer, or I mean, usually like, if you're comparing, I guess, people to like animals, a deer is usually pretty comparable as far as ballistics go to people with body mass and like muscle mass and size. So a 5.56 is not always a reliable round to take out a deer. So it's going to be pretty similar with a person. And a lot of combat situations, like I had people that I worked with in my unit that had active combat experience with 5.56, and it wasn't always reliable.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to use multiple rounds a lot of times.
You got to hit them
especially the further away you are. And I think they said he was about 150 yards, somewhere between like 120 and 150 yards away from the stage, which in and of itself isn't really a crazy shot for those guns. I think in the sharpshooter school in the Army, which is separate of the sniper school, they train you to effectively engage with, I say effectively because again, that gun is pretty unreliable at those distances. Effectively engage out to about 600 meters with the 5.56, which is giving that round literally everything it has. I mean,
lobbing it out there.
Yeah, its trajectory is just a lob, and it's really, really low impact at that range because it's running at force. But I mean, so in the long run, anyway, I mean, even in basic training, we effectively shot out to 300 meters with our iron sights. We had to literally, and that's just basic training, infantry. So everybody has to hold that standard.
I'll tell you right now, if I had to do a long range shot, I would choose my 300 Wing mag. Every single.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just based on my experience.
What they're made.
Yeah. Or maybe the 6.5, that'd be cool too.
6.5 Creedmoor is supposed to be pretty good. I've not really shot
one. It's lovely.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It's also a bigger round than a 5.56, so it's going to have a lot more muzzle blare and a lot more force in the round, and I mean, it's just going to shoot a lot better, usually a lot smoother.
Yeah,
it's got more powder.
What's up, Brad?
Yeah, that as soon as I was where's the time at right now?
Oh, we're looking at 42. We probably are around 40 with editing. Unless you have some big chunks that you're going to take out, like this one right here. Wait, what? You have to leave it in. You know how many listeners are going to relate to that?
Yeah.
What? The Crestito. Oh. You have to leave that in.
Fair.
Have to. Okay, so we're at 42 minutes.
Boys ate Crestitos at the high school and shit their pants in football camp.
43 minutes. We had 15 minutes before that, so let's do 10 solid minutes of yours.
Yes.
Are you good with that?
Yes, that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, so treat this as everything we're saying right now. It's edited out. So basically, segue however you want. In 3, 2, 1, do it.
Speaking like protection, so like public figures, I have the news for you guys.
What's your news, Brad?
I can't declare to December, but I'm running for mayor in Weston.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
So you can't declare
till December.
And like officially.
Officially declare, but this is my social like.
This is your okay.
Yeah.
When is the
April?
April.
April 6th.
All right, so April is when.
Let's hope we don't have another January 6th. But
now, what again motivated you to do this?
Prime example, or motivated me to run for mayor. I've been here Weston my whole life. 29 years in December. I think that's when you declare is December 14th, my birthday. I'm not for sure about this is December. That's all I know. Like, for example, another reason I want to run for mayor is this podcast. Like, people to talk to each other, listen to each other. Like, all the division I see on the community pages. Like I said, or the kid like complained about like when you got a citation for not having a license and stuff like that.
What would you do as the mayor politically to unify the town a little bit more?
One, I would like to have my podcast more, so I have people talk more.
So you would keep doing the podcast if you got mayor?
Yes, and like have more, and continue the podcast and continue talking to each other. Like, so
I might be a co-host with the mayor. That's gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
I can add that to the resume.
They said security too. So
security. Well, yeah, based on what we've been talking about. Jeez, we're gonna. I have Secret Service experience. He has sniper experience. So there's your counter sniper, and I'll be your explosive guy. Yeah.
I hope that doesn't come that way. You never know.
No, I don't think the town of Weston needs to worry about that.
Man, I'll tell you what, if it did, we'd be in way over.
Well, yeah, that'd be.
But
I would know what to do.
Yeah.
All right, back to you though. So
you're saying like what I do is like to the community. Another thing I'll do is like live stream the city council meetings. Because right now they open, like anyone can go.
Cool idea. I think I don't know. Is there any kind of like?
Are you doing that in the spirit of transparency?
Yes, because keep people accountable for their actions. Like, for example, it could be misconstrued, like Nathan was saying earlier about the media. Like, someone could say something wrong about like what happened in the city council meeting.
So you want to get fact checked in real time?
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
That's gonna.
Yeah, that ruffles some feathers, all right.
I'll tell you what, dude. I think that's a good idea as long as you cover your bases. You do your due diligence, make sure everything's.
I know there's a lot of lawyers.
Yeah, that's true.
But
okay, so
and like you keep people accountable to like. For example, like it's a small town, like people like through stuff it's got like a game telephone, like say, oh, this person said this person said this, but this doesn't have the straight facts.
Yeah.
And like it'll keep people accountable and like
hold people accountable.
Like we know you're being recorded, you're being live streamed, you keep you responsible, like keep civil and like keep conversation like civil with each other, even though
I'll be honest, I've never sat in on this.
I haven't either because
I don't know that they aren't already these things, but
they aren't. I heard they aren't because I haven't seen one either because there's limited seating. It's open to the public, but
I feel like you're almost obligated to live stream. It's limited seating. The people that want to attend it can't.
And also for the people at home, like disability.
Actually, I mean, this is the perfect platform to find out what you guys are thinking as the listeners. You people let us know in the comments. If you feel strongly, let us know if that seems like a good idea to you with the live streaming thing, just to give Brad some feedback so he can build his bulletproof. Oh,
wow. Poor choice.
Poor choice of words. He can build his robust campaign package based on some feedback from you all.
I actually have some more to other things.
I'm sure you got a lot of work, Brad.
No, I actually have a list of stuff I do already. So,
do you want to talk about that now, or you want to save that for later?
I just shot two other ones. It's really fast.
Hit us with it.
Is like how Weston thrives on those festivals in town, like when like tourists comes over.
Apple Fest,
Apple Festival, that's just now, and the folk festival.
Yeah,
the folk festival.
Bluegrass.
Yeah, which they don't have the Irish Fest. They combined them now, but like and where help. Tell people like, hey, when's the festivals or have more transparency. I know it's the commerce job to do that. The city, Chamber's commerce to like advertise and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I think it should be like more like people should like know about it, like not like surprise festival.
So you're saying that right now,
more public knowledge about it.
Yeah,
and like tell people like, hey, this is going on. This is like give them not like 2 weeks later. Like
They don't have them in this. I thought they were right around the same time frame every year.
They are.
The second or third week of like August or something.
Yeah, they are.
Early October.
But they are, but it's people get busy with like lives, and so we forget about like, oh, this is happening this weekend.
So basically, you would revamp the advertising process for those types of things.
And see how people get involved if they want to get involved in the community more.
Yeah.
Like help each other.
Well, there's no doubt that business owners in the community benefit from those festivals.
Enormous thing for those guys.
A lot of people, but also have more try to have more local businesses in the thing too, because lately.
You mean local businesses that might not have shops downtown?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because a lot of them are like coming from like Kansas City, Olathe, and stuff like that. But
I guess that also depends on what you mean by local. I don't know that I would consider, Kansas City like Olathe.
No, I don't think it's local. No, like Weston, Platte City. Yeah, local. Weston, Platte City, Platte County.
That's a good one. Platte County.
Well, like local businesses and stuff like that. And another one, keep the food bank going.
Okay, give us a little bit more about that.
Right now, like there's a food bank. They have like once a month on a Friday, I think. Keep that going. I know it's like someone else that's doing it, but like keep it going. And also try. I know there's a small community to try to have like community lunches, like for some kids that don't have food.
Okay.
Like at the school.
Well, okay. Hang on. Going back to the food bank, where do people?
They pick it up at City Hall.
So City Hall,
and
that's once a week.
And they pick it up there.
It's like once a month.
Once a month.
On Friday.
So you would increase the number of times that happens.
Yeah, try to. Try to local farmers donate some of their produce and stuff like that.
Well, that may just be another one that requires like awareness.
Like volunteer,
yeah.
Because people may just not know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that.
And local, especially during summer, so I try to have like lunch and breakfast for like some kids like that don't have school. I know like we your community, a lot of kids do eat, but there's some that don't still.
Yeah, that's true, and that's sad. That is the case.
And try to have like community lunches or like have like big city gatherings, like just meet and talk to each other.
Yeah,
like once a month, just like talk, like a big town hall meeting, like just talk to each other.
So what I'm kind of getting is you're big on transparency and you're big on reinvigorating like community involvement and
take pride
festivals
in the town.
And just functioning as a town
and taking pride in our community.
Well, how are you going to tackle the pride?
Because like try to get people involved, like listen to be like what do you listen to like everyone's opinion on like what they want to do.
So it goes back to involvement. That's your plan for pride. Okay. I mean, I think if people are involved in a way that they want to be pride kind of comes along with that town pride.
I think the best thing that would come from that, and I think a lot of the animosity that comes from social media is the anonymity, right? And anonymity.
Unanimity.
I see
I can't use words like that. I'm sorry.
It's Nemo over here.
And all you're seeing are words on a screen, right? Those are still a person. Like you're not interacting.
There's like one dimensional.
We are interacting right now, right? Like if you take that screen away and you make it a real face-to-face conversation, I think a lot of that would go away when people realize that they're talking to a human being and not just like a message board. Like, part of that, like you were saying, getting people involved in the community would probably get away with, a lot of that. I think it would help. I don't know that it would completely eliminate it, but it would definitely help.
Kind of goes back to like customer service too. When you're on the phone with someone, a lot of times those conversations can get heated, depending on who decides to be the instigator and who wants to
just never even talk to a person and get a robot.
And that's extremely frustrating as well.
It's true.
But in customer service, if you're face to face with someone, as long as you have some charisma and some common sense, you can get pretty far. There's obviously situations where people aren't willing to budge and maybe they're having a bad day, but I think it translates well to what you're trying to do. Is we get people face to face, those conversations are going to change, and I think they'll be more meaningful too. And
also like I said, community also like have a place where like people can leave suggestions like for how they improve the town's like open communication.
Yeah,
because right now I don't see anything like that. Like,
the community page.
That is not. Yeah. Okay.
Dude, that sucks too. I mean, I can personally say I have no social media. Like I don't follow any of this stuff, which, I mean, you guys are sitting here just spitting out facts like, oh yeah, that's my community page or this page. Like, I don't know about that. So it would be nice to see in other ways that, like I could still interact with this stuff in person.
That's another reason I was tweeting up the live stream and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because like,
that's true.
That's another, I did that because like Because right now it's only like they have a city council meetings on the website or on like the newspaper. But where people don't subscribe to the newspaper, they don't see it in the newspaper. But they can't make the meeting because they don't see it. How they know what's going on down? Whether they're not on the community page, they don't have social media like Nathan here.
Yeah,
living in the Stone Age, dude.
Well, it kind of goes back to what James said on episode 1. It does fall on the responsibility still falls on the individual to seek that information if you want that information. But I think what you're saying is you're going to make it more readily accessible to more people who may have otherwise not seeked the information, but now that they have it in front of them, then they can, work that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that sounds pretty good. I mean, we're getting close on time. It seems like you want to tell us your slogan.
Yes, the big thing is community involvement.
Okay.
Like why I did the podcast, like unite.
Yeah.
Like be the United States, not the divided states.
Okay, is that the slogan?
No, the slogan is stronger together.
Okay.
I'll show you the logo too after we're done.
Okay, yeah, it's exciting news. We still have some time before, I guess, stuff starts rolling in that direction, but we're going to keep talking about it as we continue recording episodes. And for the listeners out there, again, I'll plug, if you want to be a guest on this podcast, just reach out to myself or Brad. We are both on Facebook. And then I think your information's on Spotify as well.
Yeah, there's a description, and there's a Google form you have to fill out if you want to be a guest on the podcast. Or you could email me at freedomsfineprint@gmail.com.
Absolutely. And if you have it in your heart, like the podcast, subscribe, and whatever the other things that people say on this podcast to give us support.
Send us a rating.
Yeah. Do click a bunch of things to make our,
there's buttons out there.
Just click the buttons.
Sort through it.
Please. Yeah, just one button at a time. We appreciate you listening. Brad, do you have any closing remarks for this one?
That's it.
Nathan, thank you for being a guest again. Thank you.
Thank you for being a guest and a host.
And a host. Well, sort of, yeah. Ultimately, you did great.
Thanks for letting me be on the show.
Yep.
We've reached the end of our show today with Brad and Colby. It's been a blast all the way. Stay tuned for more exciting stories to hear.